Very good, mate. Very good. Good to be on this show.
Brand
new show.
Brand new show. Yeah, brand new show. So, guys, this is our brand new show. We'll get the name out there right at the top of the show, which is
the Web3 Digest.
Amazing. Yeah. So, Digest, for somebody who don't know, it's a reference for Reader's Digest.
Yes, this is really kind of set up for a bunch of old folks like
exactly.
Us, right?
They really don't understand the space, don't understand that. No, joking aside, we thought that it was such a catchy name, Web3 Digest, that it'd be good to lift off instead of the show, right? We fancied. We've got a growth show, so
we do.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
also, I think the nature of this show is very much but it's small, it's digestible, it's 15 minutes maybe, and it's kind of short and
good out.
And I think it works.
I like it.
I think it works.
So look, guys, there's we want to this first kind of 15-minute burn is really about why, right?
Yeah.
Why and what. So first and foremost, kind of why are we doing the three digest and what it's going to be about basically. So I think. Look, first and foremost, possibly, the why, right? So obviously, as you know, myself and Amit have been on this huge kind of hockey stick learning curve and been fully immersed in the kind of Web3 space over the last couple of months, really, but taken a huge deep dive. And interestingly, because we're on that path now, I think everyone that I know, family, friends, colleagues, people climbing out of the woodwork, and yourself, not that obviously, liken yourself to a doctor and you kind of, people come up to you and go, I've got a bit of an itch, right? I think you, like me, are now getting a lot of questions, right?
Yeah, it's nonstop. I think I think like with the early days of social media, I guess.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So if we almost go back to that Web 2, and I think we'll talk about sort of defining what
this is.
Yeah. People were kind of fascinated by it, didn't really know what it was, didn't really know if there was any kind of relevance to them, didn't know if there was any kind of commercial relationship between maybe social media and and their business, and I think and they come to us. I think typically just because we've been in this digital space for hundreds of years, what it feels like in digital years.
In digital years, like dog years.
It's kind of. People do kind of tend to turn to us and say, right, okay, look, what is this about?
Exactly. How relevant is it to me?
Is this something I should be paying attention
to?
Yeah. And if so, then how do I, what do I do?
What do I do? Yeah. What's the next step? Yeah.
And I think, from our side, we, this is really kind of what we do, right? In terms of looking at sort of complex or semi-complex kind of things that are happening in our space.
Yes.
And sort of breaking them down and making them sort of a little bit more kind of digestible for people to kind of really kind of understand and take in and really kind of and apply to their own work.
100%. Yeah. So we kind of spun the idea when we were in South by over in the States, obviously, and we were like a couple of excitable kids, finding out so much new information. And as always, we like to share this, right? For those of you to watch a growth show, that it's kind of warts and all. We're very honest, open, talk about everything and anything, right? So we wanted to kind of frame this a bit differently as far as dedicating some time to this space because we feel it warrants it, right? That's the other thing. We feel that it's such an important part of kind of the digital space moving forward. We wanted to kind of get involved, and I guess that kind of brings us to like what is Web3. I mean, we've obviously titled this Web3, guys, because we feel this is an overarching, an all-encompassing environment. But I mean, do you want to walk us through that?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, look, I think from our perspective, if we really kind of define it and sort of break it down, we're talking about, the new iteration of the web, right? So something that's evolved from sort of Web 1 and Web 2, and I'm going to throw that back at you in a second.
Amazing.
But what we're talking about in this new kind of world is really the decentralization of the web. And again, I think Andrew can help sort of define that in a second.
Amazing.
But we're really talking about, the kind of evolvement of blockchain technology, cryptocurrency, NFTs, potentially DAOs, decentralized finance. And really it's a convergence of all of these different elements. And then on top of that, we can also add in the metaverse, right? So, you know, again, there's a lot of kind of buzz and hype around the metaverse.
Yeah.
There's a lot of kind of really kind of cool things that are going on from a brand perspective.
Yeah.
But all of this is very much interlinked. So, you know, we don't want to kind of separate the metaverse from Web3. It's very much kind of integrated and kind of all in one, right? In terms of the technology that drives it. So really, that's what we're going to be breaking down each week in terms of, you know, the different aspects of it. Maybe some of the kind of cool projects that are kind of happening at the moment.
They're out there at the moment. Yeah.
Opportunities. I mean, there might even be potential, you know, projects that we kind of like, that we feel have got some legs that, you know, will kind of help you guys potentially get eyes on and perhaps even get involvement on. But yeah, so, you know, so I think this is going to be a really kind of dynamic and kind of, you know, really interesting show, because it's just going to be talking about really things that are very kind of cutting edge.
Yeah, and also in a format, as you know, guys, that's no BS, right? So there's, you know, we may have some complex jargon, but we'll always explain it. I think that what we learned very early on in this space is everyone is open and everyone is learning. As soon as you kind of get into that realms of I'm an expert, I'm this, I know, you got to kind of steer clear of those individuals. So we want to kind of bring you along for a ride. You know, and that means that we can, I think we're fairly good at breaking down fairly complex environments in more easy, digestible format, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hence Web3 Digest.
Yeah. No, and I think that's really kind of key. But I think, Andrew, like, let's just, again, from an introduction perspective, you know, what is kind of, you know, this new iteration of the web different to maybe the previous version?
Yeah. Look, I think obviously Amit's asking me this because I can remember when the internet was called the superhighway, and obviously Amit can't.
Information superhighway.
Oh, sorry, is that what it was? Oh, okay, all right. Yeah, excellent. You
fell, in a history book once.
Fell for my plan, but it's fine. So, you know, kind of very, very early on, this was, you know, the formation of what we would, you know, class as websites today, right? So if you think back, you know, can you imagine a time without websites? Yes, there was. So obviously this was the formation of web as we still know it today, right? So your kind of traditional websites that are out there, either a company brand, and then obviously how that's evolved as well into mobile, into apps, into transactional e-commerce environments, obviously over time. That's seen as Web 1.0, right? So as Web 1.0, that's kind of where it sits in the history books, as it were. Web 2.0 was kind of the emergence of platforms that were allowing you to kind of produce content, create content, share content, you know, in a space. First of all, kind of understanding things like MySpace, obviously ultimately today, Facebook, Instagram, Snap, LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok now as well. But the real kind of issue with those, that kind of Web 2 is the ownership of that data, the ownership of that individual. And what's happened is that you as an individual have effectively become productized and monetized. So you are the asset to these organizations, you know, and you have to play by their rules. You have to kind of live in their environment, you know, and obviously we've seen how that's impacted some brands and some individuals in that space as well. So with Web 3.0, this is this, you know, kind of dramatic shift to almost going back to what the web was supposed to really be about in the first place, right? A kind of decentralized environment, you know, allowing people to create their own environment, their own path, but effectively allowing the community itself to police the community. So not so much about having dominant players in the market that kind of force you to go down a certain path, really making it more of a kind of level playing field.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point. So, I mean, this goes back to the origins of a web. So, you know, so Tim Berners-Lee, in his original documentation, spoke about, you know, a decentralized web, right? Where you don't have, you know, these massive
monopolies,
organizations that are not even billion-dollar, but trillion-dollar organizations now, you know, who are basically controlling what's happening on a web, right?
Exactly.
Policing it, you know, almost like a government state almost. And this goes back to
beholden to no one aside from themselves.
Yeah, correct. And this goes back to those origins where it's like, no, the power should be with the people.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
That's the reason for the internet. And I think that's why, because of the strong sort of foundations and fundamentals behind this movement, I think that's why it's here to stay. And I think not just here to stay, I think this will change and it's very dramatic, I think, when I say this, and I say it fairly frequently, so it gets less dramatic in my ears.
Yeah.
But this will change how we fundamentally work.
Yeah.
How we build companies, how we structure those organizations.
Yeah, exactly.
How decisions are made, how purchasing is done, and the
Completely.
assets you own. I mean, all of these different things are now really, they're for kind of traditional ways of doing things are very much threatened by this, but for the better.
Yes.
Right.
Completely.
It takes on traditional organizations. It takes on banking systems. And so it's much bigger than just, hey, here's a new platform. It's much more than that. So I think that's why, from my perspective, is I guess, having, same as you, we've spent hundreds and hundreds of hours.
Yes.
Really kind of, investing time.
Yeah.
Talking to people who are kind of, heavyweights in the industry.
That's right.
These are the guys who are making this change.
Yeah.
And really kind of, absorbing that information and content to be able to then sort of dissect it and share it back.
Yeah, I think we should say that, so bear in mind, as far as blockchain and some of the things that we'll talk about, these have been around for years.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think one of the sessions that Amit and myself were at South by was kind of CTO from Dell, and that question was raised. It's been around for years. What's the trigger? What's the reaction? And a lot of it is to do kind of with COVID, right? As far as that digital transformation for a lot of organizations, it kind of brought things to the forefront again, and some of these ideas that have been bubbling away in the background, which were wildly impractical or just not thought about, have kind of made that dramatic shift, and I think we will see dramatic change. So I think that it's interesting at the moment because a lot of organizations and governments are trying to control the environment, which is mildly amusing, of a kind of a decentralized environment. And there's a lot of traditional, let's say, organizations or people that have kind of structures in place that currently kind of benefit them, talking about the fact that because it's decentralized, because it's Wild West, because it's this, because it's that, it's kind of dangerous. Which is, well, I think we're going to get into it. We're going to have those conversations.
And I think the point is it is. I mean, there's definitely elements of that. Because it's new.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And with anything that's new, there's different opportunities for people who are exploring. But I think, again, the purpose of this show is really just to make sure that even though it is new, I think it's really important people get up to speed really quick.
100%.
We want whether it's individuals to really kind of learn and understand the space. Because I think the sooner you do that and the sooner you get your heads around it, the better. In terms of you'll understand more of those opportunities, and also for brands. I think there's a lot of kind of brands who are very excited about the metaverse, the opportunities. But where do you start, right? And actually, what's the right approach for us?
Exactly.
And so we'll be kind of, again, showcasing and highlighting different brands that are doing a really good job in this space.
That's right.
As well as kind of, again, trying to kind of explore different opportunities. And this is, for those of you who've watched our shows before, this is unscripted, right? We don't sit here, we don't plan out.
They know that. I think for people that watch it.
I think they do know that now. But basically you're talking about, ultimately you could grab yourself a drink and basically, that's the kind of environment.
Join a conversation.
Yeah, it's it's almost kind of, no holds barred in some respects. And we just want to obviously, share as much information as we'll take.
Yeah,
it's almost like a bit of a download for us.
Exactly. And as much as this is for everyone that's listening and watching, most of it is for me and Amit. So I think the thing is that obviously, so we're currently involved in projects, in Web 3.0 projects, some at kind of creation, finalization, pitch. There's a lot going on in that space. But also I think the thing is, as Amit mentioned there, just want to go back to it, that we're building relationships with individuals in the industry that carry real weight, that really, they themselves wouldn't call them experts in this space, but from what they've done, they know what they're doing, right? I think that's it, and I think it's what's quite refreshing actually about the Web3 space is it's a very humble environment. Everyone is wildly open to sharing as much of this as they can. No one seems to be holding all the cards. That's what kind of we're passionate about, right?
I mean, this is it. It's decentralized by definition and by nature, right?
That's
in
right.
terms of the people that are involved in it. They want to do something collectively.
Yeah.
They want to create something big, create something special, something that's, got real kind of longevity in this.
Exactly.
And I think the real, the challenge. I've got a couple of the sessions obviously we went to in that conference. People were very much like, look, if you're sitting opposite someone and the first thing they say is, look, I'm a Web3 or metaverse expert, like cut the conversation short, because that doesn't exist at the moment.
No.
What you may have is some expertise or some experience.
Yes, correct.
But to, define yourself as an expert in something which is at the moment so very small, but potentially could be huge.
Exactly.
Just doesn't exist. So
no.
So look, and look, we've certainly never sort of claimed that. I mean, so it's very much a case of, like I said, just sharing what we know.
Exactly.
We're getting exposed to some incredible projects, but again, it's very difficult to kind of just have this one-on-one conversation.
It's been a long time, guys. I think that I think myself and Amit feel like this. It's been a long time where there's something new every day. There's something new, there's a new connection, there's a new technology, there's a new application of the technology, there's a new thought, there's a new group, there's a new movement every day, and I think that's wildly exciting, right?
Yeah, it's generational, right?
Yes,
I mean, it's
exactly.
one of those where it's so, like, the challenge right now is it's just really complex. Right?
Yes. True.
And I think, but the point is because of that complexity, there's just so much innovation and so much stuff that's happening in there.
Yeah.
And it's quite funny. I think if we almost kind of relate it back to the early days of social media. I mean, for years we were very skeptical of that space because really, what was the ultimate benefit? And it was only really over the last, maybe the latter half of that, Web 2 era where even the social platforms have really cared more about ROI than they did engagement.
True,
right?
very true. Yeah.
And from our perspective, from day one, we were like, if this doesn't demonstrate ROI,
what is it?
Is it here for the long
term? Exactly.
Exactly. And it's only as those platforms have evolved and got more mature that this has become where it is today. Whereas I think this space is all about actual practical use, application, and for benefit.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes it really interesting.
Yeah. Perfect. Cool. All right, guys. So look, that's the intro to the show. Next first episode will be kind of lined up almost straight after. So we look forward to kind of sharing our experiences with you. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Amit.